Welcome, friends, to Manly Monday here at YourOtherBrothers.com. We're a community navigating faith, homosexuality, and masculinity together. My name is Tom, and I am the site co-founder, site editor for Your Other Brothers. I'm glad you guys are here. If you are new to Manly Monday, if you're new to Your Other Brothers, you want to learn what we're all about, we have an about page, YourOtherBrothers.com/about. You can learn all about our story, where we came from, a little bit about where we're going. This probably needs to be addressed, the elephant in the room. It's actually surprising I don't have an elephant in this room with everything else that I do have. This box does contain the winner of last Manly Monday's book giveaway. If y'all remember, this Guiding Families resource, Guiding Families of LGBT plus loved ones, I was giving one of these away last week, and several of you commented. I put your names in this box. At the end of this episode, I'm going to draw a name, and whoever I draw, you're going to get a copy of this book featuring a contribution from yours truly. So stay tuned to the end of the video to see if it's you. If you didn't comment last time, spoiler alert, it's not you. Sorry. Right off the bat, I also need to get out of the way that I need to apologize. For some reason, last episode of Manly Monday, I was like hitting the table and doing all kinds of weird things with noise levels. And so I'm going to be very conscious this episode, even though I just broke the rule. But starting now, I'm going to be very conscious not to even graze the surface of this desk. I'm honored that you guys came back to watch another episode, because after watching that one myself, I wanted to shut this guy off. He's just hitting the table too much. And if you didn't notice, maybe it's just me being super critical. Maybe you didn't notice. But if you go back and watch, I think you'll pick up on the fact that maybe Tom had maybe an extra cup of coffee that morning or something. I don't know. I have no idea. So today I'm talking about something near and dear to my heart. It's something that I have a lot of thoughts on. It's something I've processed a lot over the years as my life has taken twists and turns, literally from one side of a continent to another. And that is the concept of the will of God. What is the will of God? What is God's will for people, for believers, people who follow Jesus? What do we do in this life when we face these cruxes in the road, and how do we know which one is the right one and which one is the wrong one? And the reason I want to bring this up today, it actually is inspired by a conversation that I had at our recently held YOBBERS retreat. I was up late one night, as tend to happen at these retreats, by the campfire. And there's just something about a campfire, especially a campfire post-midnight, a post-midnight campfire. There's probably 10 or 15 of us out of the 50 or so that were at the retreat that weekend. 10 or 15 of us staying up late past midnight by the campfire outside. And there's something about the campfire that just induces deep conversation. It's just it opens the door for those conversations to happen, and then all you gotta do is sit down or walk through the door, if I'm continuing the metaphor correctly. You walk through the door and there it is, your deep conversation awaits you. I love campfires, going back to working at camps, and even just working in the woods with youth and even with my family. Something about a campfire is very inviting and conducive to those deep conversations. So I was having a conversation with one of our yobbers, one of our supporters, and just talking about a big crux in the road for this person, a big decision, and involving ministry. So it's whether to continue and build this ministry, devote more and more time to this ministry, or to walk away altogether. Maybe to put some less time into it, but possibly walk away from this ministry altogether and pursue another path, pursue something else. And it was a really fascinating conversation to, first of all, just hear his story and hear his pros and cons and dilemmas and reasons to do this and reasons to do that. It was also cool to compare it a little bit to my own journey, working more and more with Your Other Brothers, and just the various twists and turns my jobs and my careers and my paths have taken really ever since college, ever since I've had to make these big momentous decisions for myself about where to go to school and where to live and where to work and where to go to church, and all these big decisions that involve a lot of places, a lot of movement versus stability, and what the right decision is, and how do you know if God is in it or if God wants you to do it. And it used to be for me, as I'm sure it can be for a lot of kids who just grew up in a Christian culture. At least for me, I grew up with the mindset that there is one will of God, one road that is set in stone for your life. And hopefully you can figure it out. And hopefully you can hear the right voices or feel the right feelings, think the right thoughts, and make sure you're on that path, because one wrong decision and you're like veering way off course with every step you take. And so that was my mindset growing up, and I used to put such weight and I used to experience such paranoia and stress and doubt about these big decisions, about going to college, about transferring to college, about moving across the country, about things that just drastically changed my life. I always, in the back of my head, I always wondered, like, gosh, is this the will of God? I hope it is. I think it is. It feels okay. It makes sort of sense. Sort of it doesn't make sense. And I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. And I just remember being locked into that mindset that there's only one way, and I hope, fingers crossed, I hope I'm right. And it wasn't until maybe, I don't even remember, 5 or 6 years ago, somewhere in my mid-20s, when I was facing some of those cruxes in the road, again, moving versus staying, and read a book. I remember reading a book about the will of God that really started to shift the way that I view my author, because I look at all of our lives as stories and I look at God as the author. And it really wasn't until I read that book, and especially when I went to a conference that was all about living your life like a better story, that I started to look at God, and particularly the will of God, in a whole new light. The speaker at this conference, I'll never forget it, during one of his presentations, he put an image on the screen behind him as he was talking about the will of God, as we're talking about stories and ups and downs and twists and turns in the way that the human journey goes. And he put an image on the screen of a father and a son, like a middle-aged father and an 8 or 9-year-old son. And they're sitting outside in a driveway on a sidewalk, and they just had chalk, all these different colors of chalk scattered around the two of them. It was such a powerful moment for me in many ways, but the speaker pointed to that image and was like, this is how I picture the will of God now. Instead of like, there's one path and this is it, good luck figuring it out, I see it as the father kneeling down with his son, opening up the box of chalk, opening up all the colors, and collaborating with the son and asking him, what do you want to create? Where do you want this to go? And I love that, because I think God has given each of us unique talents, abilities, passions. He's wired us differently, different personalities, different hobbies, different talents and skill sets. And I think the will of God is going to look very different for very different people. For someone, it might look like staying in the same city your whole life for 70 years, and you never leave, and you build this thing, whatever it is, a community, a movement, a ministry, in the same city your whole life. And for you, that is the will of God. And for someone else, maybe someone more suited toward my personality, maybe it's moving around more, being flexible and adaptable, adjusting to different cultures and providing and contributing as you go. And maybe that's the will of God for you, for that person. And I encourage anyone out there that has, especially like some of our younger watchers, followers, if you're struggling to figure out what is God's will, figuring out these decisions about college, about jobs, about where to live and where to go, obviously pray about it. That's my first suggestion. But second suggestion is examine your heart, examine what you're good at, examine where you're gifted. Let God be the father with you as you, the son, or you, if you're a daughter, if you're a child. Let him direct you. What do you guys want to create? What do you want to create? And then I think if we make the decision based on where can we love God, where can we love people, the 2 greatest commandments, I think if we can go somewhere with a decision and faithfully do those 2 things, loving God and loving other people, I think we're in the will of God. And that's my encouragement to you guys that are struggling to really ascertain if you're in the middle of a big decision or you see big decisions coming. Boil it down to where can you love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength? Where can you love your neighbor as yourself? And I think the rest will take care of itself, because I think the Father, delights working and creating with his child based on his natural giftings and what he's good at and where his heart goes. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the will of God? I want to hear, first of all, like how you face it, how do you interpret this will of God, how you've attempted to figure it out in the past. And you can rely on a lot of big decisions in your life. If you've had to move somewhere, if you had to take a new job or do something with your family or whatever the big momentous decision is, I'd love to hear what those decisions were, how you made them, and how you felt peace about them as it pertains to the will of God. And you can comment either below on this YouTube video or go to our video page at yourotherbrothers.com/video. Find this posting and comment your thoughts on the will of God. I'd love to hear where you guys are coming from, because I know people experience vision and clarity in the form of feelings and songs and dreams and scripture and other people speaking into their lives. And I know like God definitely uses, I think God is a creative God to speak to us in all these different ways. So I'd be curious to hear how you feel that he's spoken to you, or how you've attained peace coming to terms with decisions in your life. And when it comes to the will of God, there's something that can be boiled down to in a single verse. It's our verse for this week. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:18. And it says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." So wherever you go, whatever decisions you make, when you're struggling to find the will of God, I think contentment, being present, and being thankful, that's a great starting point. So that is our verse for the week, and that is the first half of Manly Monday. It is now time for our weekly roundup. Our bi-weekly roundup of everything Yob. It's the state of the Yob. Starting with our blog. We had some amazing blog posts. I don't want to be one of those people that says this was the best week ever for Yob, but this was a solid week for blog posts, for content on yourotherbrothers.com. Starting with, I'm going to just say it, my favorite post that Ryan has ever written, "The Male Imprints Left on Us." I don't know. There is something about this post that has a weight to it that his other posts don't. I'm not saying his other posts aren't good. Not at all. I love Ryan. But this post, there's just something about it that I really love, about the impact our friendships, especially our male friendships, can have on us, the hold that they can have on us for people with same-sex attraction, for gay men. Really powerful post. Check out that one. Highly recommended. If you do nothing else, check out that post. And then Marshall, one of our older authors, he wrote a post about a friend who recently took his life, older and single, aftermath of my friend's suicide. And this is a heavy post. It talks about, it's very self-explanatory, it talks about someone who is older and single who took his life, and just kind of the reasons for that, and Marshall analyzing it as someone also older and single in the church, and ways that we can not predict it, but be aware that that's a possibility for people in that situation who are alone, who don't have any remaining family in their lives, who are living alone, battling depression. Is a really powerful post, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate and relate with that. So check out Marshall's post. And then finally, Kevin wrote a post called "Unearthing the Courage to Love." And this is a retreat recap. We still have posts coming out about the retreat. And Kevin was placed on the Courage tribe, actually a tribe marked by this arrow. I know I said I wasn't supposed to pound the desk anymore, and yet there I am doing it. Kevin wrote about his experience on the Courage tribe, what courage means to him, particularly what courage means in the form of love, loving God, loving others, loving himself. So if you're feeling courageous, check out Kevin's post. You can find those posts and more at yourotherbrothers.com/blog. And stay tuned later this week, where a bunch of the core authors and myself, we're going to be talking about Pride Month. This is June, as this video is being recorded. It is LGBT plus Pride Month. And we're going to talk about it because why not? Let's go there. And we're going to have a conversation about Pride Month. So stay tuned for that. It'll be a lot of great perspectives in a single posting. And that comes later this week to our blog. Over in Yobcast land, our bi-monthly podcast, we just did an episode in celebration/anticipation of Father's Day. It was our 38th episode on fathers. And we brought on Dean, one of our bloggers, who is also a father. And so we got to talk about our dads, and we got to talk about Dean's experience as a father, as someone married, as someone with a kid, and got to ask him some really nitty-gritty questions about what fatherhood is like, including, not limited to, but including, what have you taken from your experience as a child with your father? How are you aware of those things, and how do you implement or avoid those things with your child? That's a pretty deep dive. As well as the notion of, when do you tell your child about your sexuality, especially as someone who is semi-public with his story, involved in church ministry and writing for Your Other Brothers. At what point does he have that conversation with his child? We talk about that too. So a lot of good, awesome, nitty-gritty conversations and questions that are answered, including a ton of feedback from our YOBBERS, our supporters on Patreon. So definitely check out our most recent podcast for all that goodness. If you enjoy our show, you can rate and review us on iTunes. I forgot to say this, but on our last episode, on our Father's episode, we actually dive into our very first 2-star review. They've been pretty much all 5 stars up until this point. And someone took their time to pen us a thoughtful 2-star review, which was very fascinating. We dive into all of that. So please listen to that podcast. And please, if you enjoy the show, you want to support us even further, rate and review us on the iTunes. Going back to last episode of Manly Monday, I received compliments. I received so many compliments about my shirt, which is safely tucked away in my closet at this moment. But thank you to those of you who supported my wardrobe choice that day. You can thank my mother. Thanks, Mom, because she got me that shirt. I felt inspired to bring it out for some reason, even though it was 95 degrees outside, if not certainly more inside. So I'm glad my suffering could please the masses, because that's really what it's all about. I'll suffer, y'all compliment my shirt, and it's all good. All right, and now it's the mailbag. We look into stuff that you guys send us. And I'm just gonna cut right to the chase, because this box has been tantalizing you guys the whole episode, I'm sure. It's been tantalizing me. I can't wait to see who wins their very own copy of Guiding Families. I'm gonna place it right here. I'm really excited to give this away. I'm thrilled about the resource. If you want to rewatch, if you missed the last episode and what this book is, you can rewatch the last Manly Monday. You can also go to our resources tab, yourotherbrothers.com/resources. We have this book, along with several others that some of our authors have found helpful in this journey of faith, sexuality, and masculinity. Without further ado, though, it's time to open the box. And it's time to pick at random a winner. I put all the names of people who commented on our last video, both on YouTube, YOBTube, and our blog. And we're going to have a winner here very shortly. And that winner is Ron. What's up, Ron? Ron, I think you commented on our YouTube channel that this was your first time ever commenting or ever doing something with Your Other Brothers. If that's true, what a stroke of luck this is for you. If you're watching this, Ron, please get in touch. If I don't hear from you, I will be sure to get in touch with you, because I would love to send you this book. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And if you don't, for some reason, somebody in your life will enjoy it. I hope that if you enjoy it, you might pass it along to somebody who does. Fantastic resource for anyone in ministry, any parent, anyone involved in any way, connected in any way to the LGBT plus community, or learning about people with same-sex attraction, their experience, our stories. Plenty of stories in there. I think you'll enjoy it. So if your name is Ron, or if you're watching and you just want to say hello, whoever you are, shoot me an email, manlymonday@yourotherbrothers.com. And if you want to send us tangible items, because we take those too, we have a mailing address, P.O. Box 843, Asheville, North Carolina 28802. I did hear from somebody recently who accidentally reversed the P.O. Box numbers, and they put 483 instead of 843. So double check your numbering. Make sure it's correct. So that's it for this episode of Manly Monday. Please comment, as I said, about the will of God, either on YouTube or on our video episode page. Don't forget to subscribe to our YOBTube channel. Like this video with a thumbs up. Subscribe to notifications. All that really helps us out. And if you're interested in supporting us on Patreon and becoming a Yobber for $5 a month, you can go to patreon.com/yourotherbros. All right, y'all, that's going to do it. I think I avoided hitting the table as much as I possibly could. I wasn't perfect, but that's fine. We're not perfect. And just remember to speak meekly and chase madly. Be manly everywhere in between. All right.